What if your life right now isn't your first and won't be your last? What if everything you've ever felt, every person you've ever met, and every moment of joy or pain was part of something much bigger than you remember? What if your soul has lived many lives, each one a stepping stone, each one a sacred chapter in a story far greater than what your eyes can see? Human life is not just a single moment or a one-time experience. It is part of something far greater, something far deeper, and more mysterious than it appears. Our lives are not isolated or meaningless. Each one is part of a long, flowing journey that stretches across time and space. Every time we are born into this world, it is not by accident. It is part of a sacred process, part of what many spiritual paths call the wheel of life. This means that our soul is not limited to one body, one name, or one story. The soul has lived before, and it will live again, moving through many lifetimes, each one offering a new chance to learn what cannot be learned all at once. These lives are like pages in a long, ancient book, and each life offers a new chapter, a new lesson, a new opportunity to grow and remember who we really are. From the soul's point of view, the world we live in now is not the whole story. This physical world is more like a school, a place where the soul learns through experiences. In every life, we're given a set of challenges, relationships, and circumstances. These are not random. They are carefully chosen by the soul before birth as part of its journey. Sometimes we are born into peace, sometimes into struggle. Sometimes we are the ones who give love, and sometimes the ones who long for it. In each life, we learn something important. The soul doesn't come here to be perfect. It comes to experience, to make mistakes, to grow, and to wake up to a deeper truth. In some lives, we are the helper. In others, the one who needs help. Sometimes we play the role of the victim, and sometimes we're the one who causes pain. All of these roles, whether joyful or painful, are part of a greater understanding the soul is slowly building. Through love and loss, through success and failure, the soul starts to see that everything and everyone is connected. The more deeply we understand this, the more we begin to develop qualities like compassion, forgiveness, patience, and unconditional love. In many ancient teachings, this cycle of rebirth is called samsara. It is not a curse. It is a process. The soul returns again and again, not because it is being punished, but because it is still learning, still growing, still remembering. The ultimate goal of this journey is not to escape life, but to awaken within it. In Hinduism, this freedom is called moksha. In Buddhism, it is nirvana. In both cases, it means reaching a state where the soul no longer needs to return to earth unless it chooses to. It has become free from illusions, from suffering, and from attachment. It has found peace and oneness with the divine. Some other traditions, like Hermeticism, describe the soul as a spark of divine light that enters the material world to gain knowledge, to transform, and to return with greater wisdom. The soul descends into matter not to be trapped, but to turn darkness into light. It moves through many forms and lifetimes, like metal being purifying in fire, until it remembers its true divine nature. Even in the early teachings of Christianity, especially in the mystical and Gnostic branches, the soul's journey through many lives was spoken of. These paths taught that the soul would return again and again, seeking healing, understanding, and eventual reunion with God. Though many modern interpretations of Christianity do not speak of reincarnation, echoes of this ancient truth still live in its roots. At the heart of the soul's journey are two powerful forces: karma and free will. Karma is often misunderstood as punishment or reward, but it is simply the law of cause and effect. Everything we think, say, and do creates energy, and that energy eventually returns to us. If we give love, we receive love. If we cause harm, we will one day feel the pain we caused, not to suffer, but to learn, to understand, and to grow. Karma teaches us responsibility. It helps us become more conscious of how our actions affect others. It helps us feel what others feel, so that our hearts can grow softer, wiser, and more loving. But we are never trapped by karma. We are never stuck, because alongside karma, we also have free will. We always have the power to choose how we respond to life. We may be shaped by our past, but we are not controlled by it. Every moment is a new chance. Every challenge is a new doorway. When we choose love, even when it's hard, we change our future. When we choose forgiveness, we break cycles. Karma gives us the lessons. Free will decides how we walk through them. Together, they create a dynamic and living path that helps our soul evolve. Before each new life begins, the soul goes through a careful planning process. It looks at everything it has experienced, everything it has learned, and everything it still wants to understand. It chooses a new body, a new place, a new family, and a set of challenges that will best help it grow. This is not done in isolation. The soul is helped by loving guides and wiser beings who support its journey. It also makes agreements with other souls, what many call soul contracts. These are the deep connections we experience in life. Our parents, our children, our friends, our enemies, our teachers, and our soulmates. Each one plays a role in our growth, even when the relationship is difficult. Sometimes the soul agrees to be challenged. Sometimes it agrees to challenge someone else. But all of it is rooted in a shared desire to learn, to heal, and to evolve. When we are born, we pass through the veil of forgetfulness. We forget who we are, who we've been, and why we came. This forgetting is not a punishment. It is part of the design. If we remembered everything, we wouldn't experience life the same way. The lessons would not feel real. The emotions would not carry the same weight. So we forget, and through our experiences, through love and heartbreak, joy and suffering, we slowly begin to remember. The physical world, with all its beauty and pain, is one of the greatest teachers the soul will ever know. Unlike the spiritual realm, where everything is fluid and connected, the physical world is full of contrast. Here, we learn through opposites. Suffering teaches compassion. Scarcity teaches gratitude. Fear teaches courage. Darkness teaches us to recognize light. But the material world also has its dangers. It is easy to get lost here. The soul can forget itself. It can become attached to wealth, power, pleasure, and ego. It can fall into patterns of fear, anger, and control. Many souls spend lifetimes chasing things that don't last, only to feel empty in the end. But even these mistakes are part of the journey. Even when we forget, the soul never gives up. It keeps seeking, keeps learning, keeps returning until it finds its way home. In the earliest lifetimes, the soul is mostly focused on survival. It learns through basic experiences: hunger, fear, desire, and the need to belong. It builds a sense of self. Over time, it becomes more reflective. It starts to understand right and wrong. It begins to feel empathy. It begins to ask questions about meaning and truth. The soul moves from instinct to awareness, from reaction to reflection, from separation to unity. And slowly, it remembers. It remembers that it is not just a body. It is not just a name. It is not just a single lifetime. It is something eternal, something divine, something made of love, returning to love. This is the soul's sacred journey, a journey of learning, falling, rising, forgetting, and remembering. A journey across lifetimes, full of beauty, pain, mystery, and grace. And every life, no matter how ordinary it seems, is part of that great story. Every moment matters. Every choice echoes. Every soul is on its way home. In the beginning, the soul enters the world of physical life with very little understanding. It is like a child learning to walk, curious and full of wonder, but unaware of the depth of what lies ahead. As lifetimes pass, the soul moves through many different experiences and relationships. At first, it doesn't fully realize how deeply its actions affect others, or how the way it treats people can cause joy or pain. But over time, it starts to see the patterns. It begins to notice that kindness brings peace and connection, while harm brings pain and separation. It starts to realize that living with others means learning to feel, to care, to listen, and to understand. It learns that love can bring warmth, but it also brings vulnerability. The soul begins to grow by going through all these emotional lessons, and in doing so, it starts to become more aware of itself. It starts to sense that there is more to life than just what can be seen and touched. It begins to awaken to the idea that it is something more than just a body, that it is eternal and part of something much bigger than what it can yet understand. This new awareness doesn't come all at once. It comes slowly, through moments of pain, beauty, loss, and joy. The soul starts to feel a longing, a quiet ache that nothing in the world can fully satisfy. It doesn't know why it feels this emptiness at first. It tries to fill it with things: money, attention, success, power, pleasure. But these only work for a little while. Deep inside, the soul is missing something it can't quite name. What it is really longing for is to return to the place it came from, the spiritual home where it once felt whole, safe, and surrounded by love. But because the soul is still young and learning, it doesn't yet understand that what it's really searching for isn't something outside of itself. It is something within. That sense of being disconnected from the divine is what begins the search for deeper meaning. This search can last many lifetimes and often takes the soul through many highs and lows. In these early lifetimes, the soul is exploring, experimenting, and trying to find its way. It makes mistakes. It gets hurt. It hurts others. But all of this is part of learning. There is no punishment, only growth. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every challenge is like a lesson in the soul's long journey of becoming wiser and more aware. Over time, the soul starts to develop qualities like empathy, patience, forgiveness, and love. These qualities don't come easily. They are carved into the soul through real experiences. The soul begins to care more deeply about others. It starts to want to understand more than just survival. It begins to look for truth, for purpose, for a deeper kind of connection. When the body dies, the soul doesn't disappear. It steps into another part of its journey, a quiet and sacred space between lives. This time between incarnations is peaceful and important. It is where the soul rests, reflects, and prepares for what's next. This resting place is gentle and loving. The soul is not alone. It is surrounded by guides, spirits, and companions who help it look back at the life it just lived. Together, they review the most meaningful parts of that life. The soul sees the moments where it acted with love and the moments where it caused pain. It feels the effect it had on others, not as a punishment, but as a way to understand how deeply connected everything is. This life review helps the soul understand the deeper laws of karma, how every action, thought, and feeling creates a ripple in the world and in the hearts of others. After this review, the soul rests. Earth life can be heavy, full of emotional and physical strain. So the soul takes time to recover, to rebuild its energy, and to heal. Sometimes it reconnects with other souls it has known before, family, friends, soul group companions. These souls often journey together across lifetimes, playing different roles each time. During this rest, the soul might also attend spiritual schools or receive guidance. Some choose to help others who are still living, sending them strength or signs. Some souls, especially those who still feel tied to their last life, stay close to the material world and take more time to fully move on. Others, more evolved, travel to higher spiritual places where they continue their learning. This time between lives is not empty or meaningless. It is rich with purpose, decisions, healing, and love. When the soul is ready, it begins to plan its next life. This planning is done with great care. The soul, along with wise guides, looks at what it has already learned and what it still needs to understand. It looks at old karmic patterns, unresolved relationships, and the kind of experiences that would help it grow further. The soul chooses its next family, its body, the country and time in history it will be born into. Nothing is random. Every detail is chosen based on what will help the soul become more whole, more loving, and more awake. Some souls choose hard lives full of obstacles, not because they are being punished, but because those experiences will help them learn strength, compassion, or forgiveness. Others choose more peaceful lives to rest or to share what they've already learned with others. Before returning to Earth, the soul also makes agreements with other souls. These are called soul contracts. They are promises to meet again in life to help each other grow. Some will be family, some friends, some romantic partners, and some may even play the role of someone who challenges us deeply. These agreements are made with love and understanding. Even souls who hurt us in life may be fulfilling a contract to help us awaken, set boundaries, or learn to forgive. These contracts are not meant to trap the soul. They are opportunities. And even after being born, the soul still has free will. It can choose how to respond, what path to take, and which relationships to keep. But until the lesson is fully learned, the same patterns may return again and again in future lives. Within soul groups, some spirits act as guides or mentors. They don't always incarnate with us, but they help from the spiritual realm, sending intuition, dreams, or subtle signs to help keep us on our path. Understanding this deeper plan helps the soul realize that nothing in life is random. Every relationship, every meeting, every challenge has meaning. Even pain can be a gift if it leads to growth. The more we understand these connections, the more we can move through life with trust, love, and awareness. We stop blaming and start learning. We stop fearing and start growing. As the soul grows wiser through many lives, it starts to desire something more than just experiences. It begins to long for freedom from the endless cycle of being born, dying, and returning. This longing is the beginning of spiritual liberation. Many traditions speak of this awakening, whether they call it enlightenment, nirvana, moksha, or ascension. The meaning is the same. It is the soul finally remembering who it truly is. It is the moment when the soul sees beyond the illusions of the world, beyond the need for approval, possessions, or control. It remembers that it has always been divine, always connected to something greater. And in that realization, the soul becomes free. At the start of its journey, the soul is completely identified with the body and the ego. It wants to survive, to succeed, to be loved, to avoid pain. It doesn't see the bigger picture yet, but over many lives, the soul slowly begins to awaken. Suffering helps it grow. Spiritual experiences help it remember. Acts of love, sacrifice, and truth help it return to its essence. It starts to choose love instead of fear, truth instead of illusion. It develops qualities that bring it closer to liberation, patience, forgiveness, compassion, understanding, and detachment from material things. These qualities break the chains of karma and free the soul from repeating the same patterns. The journey to freedom is not easy. The soul is tested. It must let go of what is false and stand in what is true. It must face its shadows and transform them. But each time the soul chooses love over hate, peace over anger, truth over denial, it becomes more awake. Liberation does not mean escaping life. It means living life from a place of deep awareness and peace. The awakened soul no longer sees itself as separate from anything. It feels one with all life, with all creation, with the source of everything. It no longer reincarnates because it must, but because it chooses to, out of love. Some souls who reach this state choose to return to earth to help others awaken. They are not here to gain anything for themselves. They come to serve. These are the great spiritual masters, souls like Buddha, Jesus, Krishna, and many others throughout time. They came not to start religions, but to bring light, to remind us of our divine nature. Their teachings are simple and universal. Love one another, forgive, serve, live with truth, and remember that you are divine. They did not just speak these truths. They lived them, even when it brought them suffering. Their lives were examples of courage, compassion, and deep devotion. There are also many awakened souls who are not famous. They work quietly as healers, teachers, artists, or helpers. They bring light into the world through their presence, their kindness, and their wisdom. Some traditions speak of beings called ascended masters, souls who have reached high levels of awareness and now help humanity from the spiritual realms. Their work is not to carry others, but to guide them. True awakening comes from within. No one can walk the path for another. The teachings of the masters are not meant to be worshipped. They are meant to be lived. You don't have to be enlightened to help others. Every act of love, every word of truth, every moment of patience plants a seed of light. When you live with awareness, when you choose compassion, when you share what you've learned, you become part of the soul's great work of awakening. The light of the masters continues through every soul who chooses love, who chooses to grow, who chooses to be a blessing in the lives of others. And through this, little by little, soul by soul, the whole world is lifted. The soul's journey is long and full of mystery, but it is always moving toward truth, toward love, and toward remembering that it has always belonged to something far greater than it could ever imagine.